Hey there, this is Natalie, back with more stories from some of the best subreddits. Please subscribe for more Reddit videos and ring the bell so you never miss an upload. This is a fully concluded story that was originally posted to r/relationship advice by user streetexchange4428. And the title is, My husband, 22 male, and I, 21 female, got into a fight about McDonald's and we haven't talked in days. Any advice? And OP begins, Sorry, this is long. For context, I go to school full-time, work almost full-time, and do all the house duties. I also cook every night for my husband and I. My husband is a picky eater, so I always ask him what he wants, and I make it for the both of us. Very rarely we will eat quick meals like frozen pizza. I always make him homemade food. During the summer, I'm taking 9 units while working as an academic mentor, teaching students over the summer to prepare them for their next year's courses. This obviously requires extensive prep time for lecture planning and creating homework assignments for each one. I'm taking 2 6-week courses and 1 12-week. Right now, I'm in an engineering class and a statistics class, which requires a lot of lecture time and a lot of study time. A few weeks ago, I was going to get some important paperwork done in LA, dual citizenship related. This appointment in LA was early in the morning, and I had a flight at around 5 a.m, which requires me to wake up at 2 a.m. to get there on time. This appointment was scheduled on a Friday. I work 9 to 6 on Thursday. I also have lectures to watch, and since it's a 6-week course, each session takes about 4 hours of lecture. I have 4 sessions a week. So I got home around 6:30 the Thursday before my appointment in LA and began watching my lectures and taking notes. Also, I should mention now, my husband only works. He works about 25 to 30 hours a week. I asked him if he could take us to order takeout this night. He replied with, "Why?" And I explained to him I had about 3 more hours of lecture to get through and had to wake up at 2 a.m, and that I worked an 8-hour day, so I was already exhausted. He seemed to still not understand why I want to get takeout, so I said, "Can you just take us to get something simple like McDonald's? It's super close." He replied, "Well, I want spaghetti. Wouldn't it take the same amount of time getting McDonald's than you cooking spaghetti?" I make my spaghetti and meat sauce from scratch. I didn't want to argue with him after everything, so I just made it. He didn't even know why I was upset until the next day. I explained to him that I never ask for a break, or really anything from him in general, so when I ask for a break, I expect to get it. I ended up getting about an hour of sleep that night, with more assignments to do the next day still. Fast forward to a few days ago. Also, remember how my husband is a picky eater? I never get to make what I want for dinner because he just complains about it. I found a pasta recipe that looked so good and have been debating on making it, and I finally said I was going to do it. My husband likes pasta, so I thought it would be perfect. I told him I was excited to try this and that I was going to go shopping for the ingredients after he left for work. He said okay. I went shopping and got everything. I also pay for all the groceries, and he texted me a couple of hours later saying, "Are you still making pasta? We should get McDonald's tonight." I was like, "What?" and said, "Do you really not want my cooking so bad that you want McDonald's?" And he said, "Not what I meant." And I said, "What did you mean then?" And he said, "Why do you get mad at me for not taking you to McDonald's, then get mad at me for offering to take you to McDonald's?" I explained to him exactly why I was upset and how these situations were different. Last time I asked for a break, and this time I was excited to make one dinner that I wanted, and it just so happens it's the same night he wants to take me to McDonald's. We haven't talked in a few days and need some advice or guidance. I especially need ways for him to understand why I'm upset. During this time we were house and pet sitting for his family, and I just moved everything back home after he told me, "If you want to get mad at me for offering to take you to McDonald's, go home." There are a lot of other factors that go into this. Like, for example, he doesn't even help me clean up the kitchen after I cook. I feel like his mom and not his partner or wife. God, this guy sounds terrible. I mean, from the title, you could already tell there was going to be a bit more going on in this relationship than just having a strange argument about getting McDonald's on one particular day. But this girl sounds like she's been putting up with a lot. And I guess we'll see from the updates whether or not it was now time for her to stop putting up with a lot from this guy. Her first update comes 5 days after the original post, and she says, "I went over last night to get our pet bunnies that we took to his parents' house. He was there. As I was packing, all he did was watch and ask, 'Why are you taking the bunnies?' And I said that I didn't trust him to take care of them the way I do and have been. He said he has, and I asked if he even changed their litter box once, which I do every day, and he was silent. I said, 'Exactly,' and packed my stuff. I let him know as I was leaving. I said, 'I'm not going to talk to you tonight about our situation. I will not be the one to initiate, because I only did in the past. I want you to come to me, come to our house and want to fix things like I do. So you're going to have to show up and be open for talking. You can come tomorrow night,' which is today. I worked again today and had a lot of schoolwork. I wished early to have time to talk to him. He went out with his friends. It's currently 9:35 p.m. and he's still at his parents' house. I really thought he would care enough about me to just show up." Guys, I do not like this man. I hope that this story does not end well for this man. But let's hear the final update. This update came 4 days later on July the 2nd, 2024. And OP says, "He broke up with me. He told me he never loved me, that he doesn't admire me, that he's not inspired by me. He said he was never really here for our entire relationship, and that he married me because I was a safe option. I'm absolutely devastated. When he told me he was coming over to talk, I was convinced he wanted to work things out, that he missed me and wanted to come back to me. I even put together a list to divide the labour and all the things you guys told me so I didn't miss an important point. But when he told me all of that, I was absolutely shattered. He was upset too, but I don't think it's because he's losing me. It's probably because he feels guilty. I don't know what to do. I've been trying to focus on my classes and my friend is coming over and helping me rearrange my house. He took all his stuff and the house is so empty now, and I expect to see him in his favourite spots, or when I wake up in the morning I expect to see him next to me. I just feel so foolish letting myself fall for him and commit myself to him when it was obviously just a fantasy to him. I can't believe it was all a lie." Oh, this one's really sad. Obviously the guy did not deserve her, but she clearly still loved him and was hoping that they'd be able to work through the issues that, clearly were his fault. And to then be told that he'd never loved her and he'd just settled for her as an easy option. I mean, what a piece of scum. But what do you guys think about this one? It's so strange how a simple argument over what to have for dinner can reveal all these kinds of issues in a relationship and can lead to it breaking down in just a matter of days. I really hope OP gets over him quickly and finds someone who really appreciates everything that she's willing to do to help create a nice life for them together. Now here's an unusual story that was originally posted to r/dating advice, and it is a concluded story with full updates. The original poster was user Emmy Ellis, and the title is "Girl I'm Seeing, 23 female, clogged my 21 male toilet and is now ghosting me." And with a title like that, you know it's going to be a good one. So OP begins. "I swear this is not a joke. I'm mostly a viewer of this sub, but I guess now I need some real advice. I met this girl about 3 weeks ago and things really kicked off. We've hung out more than I can count, probably about 2 to 4 days each week, and been intimate 3 times. Friday night she was over, and while watching a movie, she went to use my restroom. I noticed she was in there for an unusually long time, and at a point, I started hearing what sounded like sobbing. I knocked on the door and she frantically ran to lock it and said I couldn't come in, while certainly crying. I asked what was wrong, and after repeating the question a few times and even trying to leave her alone, thinking she was having some sort of female emergency, she opened the door, ran to my bedroom, grabbed all of her things and ran out my door. I soon found out she took a poop and the toilet must have clogged. My toilet clogs very easily, so there was a plunger, which she'd tried with no avail. She must have tried to flush way too many times, as the water had completely overflowed, leaving several chunks of poop all over the floor with disintegrating toilet paper. She also seemingly tried to clean it up desperately, using both of my bath towels and 2 bathroom mats, which were now soiled in the poop water. It took me maybe 2 minutes to unclog the toilet, another 40 or so to clean the bathroom, and some time to get the smell out. I initially didn't text her for like 2 days because I was pretty upset about the way she reacted. But she's really sweet, very attractive in my opinion, and I genuinely enjoyed the time we spent, so I reached out to her Monday morning, asking if she wanted to meet to talk things over. It's been almost 2 days and she hasn't replied, and prior she rarely even took more than 2 to 4 hours to reply, so I'm fairly certain she doesn't want to see me again, either because of the way I reacted or out of embarrassment. I really do like her, so if there's a chance of saving this, I'm all for it, but at the same time, I'm not going to beg for her to talk it out. Is there anything more I can do or say, or do I cut my losses? TLDR, girl accidentally blocked my toilet and flooded my bathroom, and now won't reply to me, likely out of embarrassment. Now, obviously I don't have bodily functions because I'm an anime girl. But if I did, that kind of situation, I would be so mortified that I can't really say I would act any more mature than this girl did. I'd probably be thinking about how I could leave the country and change my name, in all honesty. It's totally ridiculous because it's a natural thing and all that, but you really just don't want someone that you've just started to date thinking about those kind of things happening around you. So yeah, I can really understand why the girl feels the way she does. I really hope she does reply to him though, because it sounds like he doesn't care at all and really wants to carry on seeing her, so let's see what happens in the updates. Though first of all, there are a couple of related comments I would like to read out to you. Lucy Shoes 2222 says, "Okay, there's more to this than you're thinking. If you'd been at her place and clogged her toilet making a massive mess, you'd have been embarrassed. But it's next level for women because there's a ridiculous amount of the population that thinks women should never burp, fart, poop, and that our periods are disgusting and shameful. This is something women grow up fearing and feeling bad about. It's hard to explain if you haven't been through it. Imagine your embarrassment in the same situation, then multiply it by 1,000. She thinks you think she's disgusting, period. She's berating herself and wallowing in shame, not because she left a mess, but because now you know she poops. I'm not kidding. Put yourself in that mindset, then reach out to her and tell her it's not a big deal. If you two stay together, you'll go through way worse than this, and if you have kids, the smell of their baby poop will make the stench in your bathroom seem like it was a bed of roses in comparison. If you care about her and this hasn't changed that, then tell her." And yeah, I really feel what this comment is saying. It's kind of like I was saying before in my own reaction. I know it's bad and kind of immature, but I really can't get comfortable around talking about bodily functions and things like that around people I'm dating, or, well, really people in general. But like the commenter said, once you do get into a relationship with somebody, over time, there are going to be times when you're going to be ill or something around them, and you know, it is going to come out that your body does operate like every other human being's. So it is kind of a silly insecurity, but it is one that a lot of women have and one I can definitely relate to. It's good that OP is taking this sort of information on board from commenters and thinking about how the girl who ghosted him might be feeling. He replied to that commenter with, "Thanks for your insight. I've told her twice that it's normal. I'm not upset and I'd love to see her again, but I can only do so much without a response. Kinda realised it hasn't been that long, and maybe she needs time, you know?" And then he gives a full update 3 days later. This one says, "TLDR, girl I'm seeing accidentally clogged my toilet and got poop water everywhere, then ran away without clearing it out of embarrassment. I hope everyone that saw the last post somehow finds this update because I received some great advice and honestly, y'all are cool as hell. I decided to incorporate most of your tips and texted her one last time, pretty much saying that she shouldn't beat herself up too much and don't worry, poop happens. I kid you not. 2 seconds later, she dislikes the text, then sends me some paragraph that she likely typed up beforehand. It was just a long-winded apology, mostly about how she reacted. I called her right after and she found the joke pretty funny, and I could tell she felt pretty bad. We previously had 4th of July plans to watch the fireworks from my apartment rooftop, and she decided to come over with a set of fresh towels. She was still a little awkward, which I guess makes sense, but all it took was a little alcohol to get her back to normal. Thanks again for all the tips. Guess I just needed to give her time and make light of the whole situation. Oh yeah, I'm glad that one worked out well. But what do you guys think about this? What would you do if you accidentally clogged someone's toilet early on in dating them? And what would you do if someone you were dating did that to your porcelain throne? Let me know in the comments. This story was originally posted in r/am I the butthole? I know it's not really called that, but you know, you have to be careful on YouTube. And it was posted by user Moist Hospital. And the title is, Would I be the butthole for grave robbing our family pet? An OP begins, Our dog passed away 3 days ago. She predated my daughter and even my wife, so it was especially hard on me. We had a little burial in the backyard where my daughter Ait said a few words. We put her favourite blanket and toy in the coffin I made, and I buried her. But unbeknownst to me, my daughter snuck in another toy. I had a stuffed penguin I've had for nearly 15 years. It was something I bought for my previous dog before she passed, and this new dog played with it a lot too. I wanted to keep this toy forever because it represented 2 dogs I've owned, not just the one. I kept it on my home office desk and had no intention of ever getting rid of it. I guess my daughter thought it should be with her too, so she took it, put it in the coffin, and I buried it. I only found out today after asking her where the penguin went. Obviously, I'm not going to get mad at her for this, but this cut deep. No fault of her own, she didn't know, but I'm left with a hard decision. I think tonight, when everyone's asleep, I'm going to dig up the coffin, pry it open, get the penguin back, and then rebury the coffin. I made mention of this to my wife, as a joke, to gauge her reaction, and she said it was a dark joke and no sane person would do that. I might have to do it and never tell her or anyone else. Would I be the butthole for grave robbing our family pet to retrieve this stuffed penguin? And then he updates just 13 hours later, I got it. I didn't get much of alone time with my dog after she passed. I couldn't say anything at the funeral because my daughter said something beautiful I couldn't follow up. As macabre as it sounds, this is the closure I needed, getting to spend 10 minutes saying anything I wanted to my puppy. We covered her in her blanket, so I didn't see her. I just saw the penguin, grabbed it, said my spiel, and then reburied her. There was no smell or anything. I'm going to be honest, it hurts. It still does. It only made my grieving worse doing this, but I know I'll always have a memento with me. What if we move or there's a flood or our house burns down? I'll have very little but memories. At least now I have something of hers I can cherish forever. Oh, I think this is one of those where the idea of what he's doing kind of sounds weirder and worse than it actually is, and I can see why he needed to know that he would have a memento from both of his dogs to keep with him forever, and why that was maybe part of the grieving process that he needed to do privately. And there are a few responses from commenters here. One commenter says, "Do what you have to do. I have my sweet dog's collar and I'm not reusing it. It's hanging here as a memento to the good girl she was. I needed that collar to keep a piece of her, like you need the penguin. I'm sorry for your loss." Tess Elga says, "I actually agreed with everyone else who said don't do it, so I'm not going to even pretend to say I understand, and I can't imagine the grief and hurt you're going through now, so I'll just say I'm glad you found the closure you needed, and I hope you find peace as well, because I can't help but think any day now we'll see a new post. Am I the butthole for not speaking to my husband after he robbed my dog's grave?" SLR Ward said, "Man, you are not thinking right. Look at what you said. What if we move or there's a flood or the house burns down? You think that toy is going to magically escape all of those things unscathed? And on top of that, you're bringing a stuffed toy that has definitely been contaminated by decomp, whether you smelled anything or not, into the house where your wife and young daughter are. Beyond all that, they will know you dug up the family pet to take the toy out. You really want your daughter to think of her daddy as stealing from your dead dog? I really doubt your wife is going to have any good thoughts here either. I'm not going to call you an a-hole because grief can make people do some effed up shit sometimes, but you seriously need to re-examine your thinking processes around this. And OP replied to a comment asking, what if someone finds it? And he says, they'll probably never find out. My wife and I both have our own individual safes in our basement. Mr. Penguin went straight into mine. But then there is an update from 2 months later. He says, I wanted to make an update on my Am I the Butthole post. I couldn't keep it a secret for very long and told my wife. She was livid, but it blew over the next day. She said she doesn't want it in the house, or anything else for that matter. She said she wanted it in the ground with our dog, but didn't want me to go through that again, so we keep it in my safe for the time being. It's never to be brought out, especially shown to our daughter, who is not going to be made aware. I decided to seek some professional help, as per the suggestion of one poster, and I've been told I have diagnosed depression. They asked me 20-some odd questions, and the only ones I didn't answer yes to was things like harm. My doctor advised me to hold off getting another pet until I can fully grieve. It's hard because my last dog was bought by my parents and lived with the family until I moved out and brought it with me. This one that just passed, I did all the work. I drove to get her, I paid for her, I did everything. There's recurring feelings of guilt that I didn't do as good as I could have, and I nitpick on things I've done wrong in the past regarding the dog. It's not healthy for me to have another one, at least for now. It's probably the hardest situation I've been in my whole life, and it was playing with my head so much I did what I did. I'm considering a penguin tattoo as a memorial, likewise, as someone suggested. Oh, poor guy. Seems like he really went through a lot. Hopefully, with time, he'll feel better and be able to welcome a new dog into his life. But what do you guys think about this one? Let me know in the comments. Do you think his reaction was understandable in going to dig up the penguin? Or do you think he acted a little crazy there and really should have just left it in the coffin? Thank you for listening to today's stories. I hope you're having a wonderful day or evening, and I hope to see you again very soon.